Hey, good people. It is KaCey, and welcome to another edition of On the Front Porch with me, KaCey. And I'm excited tonight because we have a very special guest. I've gotten a chance to know her over the last couple of years, and when you all get a chance to listen to her, a little bit of her background, a little bit of her story, you'll see why she is so easy to love and to be around. And so I am just grateful for the opportunity to share with Miss Andrea Miller on today. So how are you?
I am good, gearing up for another school year.
Yes, but this might be the last one, maybe?
That's the goal.
Okay. Well, we're gonna get into it then.
We'll see. It's
Y'all
never
look,
the last year. It's never the
um,
last year, but it's like the work will change. I'm always going to
okay.
be connected to education,
Yeah.
but maybe not in the same space.
No, makes total sense. I tell people that all the time. Folks are like, you should have been a teacher. That's like I was, which is why I'm not anymore. But you can never get away from it. You can't get away from it. So
Mm-mm.
tell us a little bit about yourself. So those who don't know you and they are interested in who is this person today, what would you want folks to know?
What would I want folks to know? Well, I'm originally from Atlanta, born in Atlanta, raised in Decatur. So I am a proud Decatur girl. Everybody's trying to figure out what's real Atlanta. I love Decatur. Raised in Decatur, I'm a first generation Jamaican American. So my parents are from Jamaica. My family is there. And that was a really big part of my life.
Mm,
So I always mention that my summers were really spent in Jamaica until I started working. And then I really would start spending more of my summers here. So I learned at a very young age the privilege of opportunity. I learned that very, very young. And just seeing other family members that didn't have access
mhm.
to certain things, particular in education. So that shaped a lot of my outlook. But after I graduated from Southwest DeKalb, went to Duke University, worked 1 year in corporate, was bored to tears, and knew that I wanted to do something related to education, did not know what. So I decided that I would teach and like figure it out from there. So I started teaching at Martin Luther King High School
Mm.
in DeKalb County, double certified for math and social studies. I really didn't want to teach social studies. I only wanted to teach econ. Had no desire in the histories of the government, but I had to get certified in all the social studies in order to teach econ. So I taught both econ and
Okay.
algebra one, taught for 6 years, and then after those 6 years, I left the classroom and school building for 1 year, and I worked at Teach for America full time as a coach.
Mhm.
And I was coaching about 30 different teachers in between Atlanta Public Schools, DeKalb, um, had a few teachers in Fulton County schools, and I was doing my master's at Columbia at the
Oh,
same time.
wow.
Yes, I was doing my master's in urban ed leadership. And so after that year, I wanted to get back into a school building, and that is how I ended up at South Atlanta. Peter McKnight, who's the principal of South Atlanta School of Law and Social Justice, hired me as an instructional coach. And then over the years, my job has morphed into what it is now, which now I am the STEM instructional coach.
Mhm.
Um, I think at one point I was thinking about doing the whole like assistant principal. And I think a lot of times in education, when you're good at what you do, that's the route they push you in. But
Oh,
when I became the STEM instructional coach, it's like a whole new world opened up for me. And I really love that space. And not only did I love that space, but I learned being in an instructional coach position. I personally work best in places where there's a blank slate and I'm not just keeping a water wheel spinning.
yeah, yeah.
And I was the first person to have my role at the school because no one knew this. What is STEM? What is this person supposed to do? How do we build a program? And I love blank canvas
Good.
spaces like that. So I've been doing that ever since. And then I am looking now to expand my consulting company, which I started during the pandemic. Like everybody started something.
I had to. It stayed
Everybody had to, he had nothing else to do. And so I started a consulting firm because I want to do more of what I do now. I want to do that for more entities.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a little bit about me, what I've been
Yeah.
up to.
We love it. We love it. You
And I'm a dog mom, so I have a coworker here
oh, okay.
looking like, "Why I'm not in the camera?"
It's all right. Next time. Next time.
Right, next time, next time.
You touched on a couple of things that I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
on tonight. One of them is around, for those who are not familiar with STEAM. So STEM is
Hmm.
science, technology, engineering, and math. I don't know
Hmm.
who may not be familiar with that by now,
But
but
just in
just in
case,
case, right? And then STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, right? And so we
and
want
there's
to,
a new one. Well, I don't know how
oh,
new it is, but well, they have one that they've been trying to push, and I'm like, y'all doing too much. Called Stream, where it's like they're adding in reading, and I'm like, y'all gonna add in all the letters of
but
the alphabet? Y'all stop.
forget the
But there
acronyms.
is right. But there is another one that a friend of mine introduced me to. She's a doctor, and it's STEM with a double M at the end. And
Oh,
the additional M is for medicine.
oh wow.
So
I
apparently, in the medical field, they have begun to
kind of just make
coin that
distinctions.
to make a distinction.
I mean, I could
Mhm.
see, geometry and calculus are two different things. Right? So I mean, I can understand all the layers, and I think the
Mhm.
more you get embedded in that
Mhm.
that world, you see like, no, these are very different things. To the rest of us, it's like it's math, and either you like it or you don't. You're good at it or you're
Right.
not, right? And for me, a little bit, of my story, a lot of my story or whatnot, and even with the organization that I helped to co-lead, we started on the foundation of STEM
Mhm.
because we saw so many Black and Brown students in APS who had very low science and math test scores when
Mhm.
it came to the CRCT at that time, which is
Mhm.
what it was called. And we wanted to find a way because a lot of times children don't like math because they find it hard, right?
Right.
When math, in a sense, should be one of the easiest subjects because there's rules and there's
Right.
formulas. And if you follow the rules and follow the formulas, then you should be good to go. And so we
Right.
want to introduce to them a different world around STEM to help break some of that mental blockage that they had, that
Mhm.
they weren't good
Mhm.
at it. So if we help
Mhm.
really, for lack of a better term, reduce STEM down to the things you do every day. If it's riding a bike, if it's being on your skateboard, if it's playing
Mhm.
a sport, if it's you
Mhm.
calculating the time that you have to get up in the morning to make sure you get to the MARTA train station to get to school on time, that is math, right? So that is a part of STEM. And so really helping them see STEM isn't everything that you do. And
Everything.
it's just a matter of you shifting your mind around whether or
Mhm.
not you're good at it so that you can
Mhm.
receive the teaching and the principles and the rules and the formulas. Now you are not telling yourself, oh, I don't understand it. It's like, no, oh, I figured out how to do this. Oh, that's
Right.
calculus, right? For you to get from
Right.
point A to point B, you can do it and you can be a part of STEM. And I'm gonna throw this out here. I have had this conversation with a couple of folks before that I really want Black children in particular to be leaders in the STEM industry because I feel like we invented STEM, right? So when we
Mhm.
think back to pyramids, when we think back to mathematicians, right? Even before the dawn of civilization, we were already doing STEM, right? We were
Right.
already building edifices that people are marveling at even to this day. And that was from our people. That was from our ancestors and from those from whence we came. And so for me, that is always the kind of philosophical push that I have for
Mhm.
Black kids to really wrap their arms around STEM because it belongs to us. And I want them all to
Absolutely.
thrive in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell
Absolutely.
me a little bit about your consulting company. I know it was kind of birthed out of what you were
It
able to do at
was.
South Atlanta. So
It
give us an
was.
update. What can we look forward to? What is it that you hope to accomplish?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, I just talked a lot to a lot of my STEM students because we had to find a way to stay connected. And I also was teaching like a capstone class. And, they think I teach them all these things. And I'm like, no, you teach me.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
one one thing that's been very interesting as I keep up with their journeys, and some people have entered college and, majored in STEM, some have not, some are doing, different things. Getting more, increasing the number of historically represented students in STEM is so much of a heavy lift. There's so many dominoes that gotta line up right. And then when you layer some of the communities they're in and you layer some of the things that they're going through, there are so many dominoes that have to fall just right for this student to get the education they need, graduate high school, major in a STEM field, make it through the major, get to the field or the graduate school, not get boxed out in an industry where it's not that many of them. And so out of these conversations is where this consulting firm was birthed. So when I think about the K-12 ecosystem as a whole, right? It's like you have the student, parents and families and communities are like girding them, right? They're supporting them. But you have their K-12 schools, you have STEM program providers like yourself that are trying to help schools, whether they give them like summer programs or after school or what have you, they're helping in some way. You have post-secondary, because colleges and universities, and that they play a big role as well, because we're going to pass the baton to them. Industry plays a big role because industry needs to be invested. If you're going to, if you know that you need these types of engineers, you better be concerned about what's going on, in schools. Government entities are part of that ecosystem. And then of course, people who give money for all of these things. And what I have noticed in my work is that STEM has been around for some time, even though it's been around for some time, but those numbers haven't changed. The numbers have not changed. So why are we doing more than we've been doing in the past? A lot's going on, but the numbers haven't changed. Something is wrong. Something's not working efficiently where you have all this stuff going on. So like there are plenty of people who reach out to me with STEM programs. I'm not short of having programs to choose from, but we have to shore up whatever our role is in that ecosystem. K-12 schools have to shore up being schools. Providers have to shore up being providers. Funders have to be better at who they're giving money to and how they're monitoring money. Every member of that ecosystem has to get strong at what they do, and then they have to get strong at working with the rest of the ecosystem.
Right.
So I want to focus on organizations that have a commitment to historically underrepresented persons getting into STEM and STEAM. But I want to approach it from the standpoint of improving your role in the ecosystem and improving how you work with other members in that ecosystem. It's so important because everybody can't do everything. But you work better. And it's funny because the verse in the Bible that I was looking at the other day, where it's like it all came together for me, was I want to say it's 1 Corinthians 12:12, where it's like Paul is talking about the body. It's like you have the hand and you have the neck, and every part of the body is doing its own thing well. But when it comes together, it can do a great thing. We're not coming together. Because if we were, the outcomes we would have the evidence of the outcomes, and we don't. So we have to improve upon that.
No, I love it because I think we see that in almost every industry, to use that term, especially as it relates to our children. It's as if everyone is working and they're orbiting each other, right? Folks are doing great work in their little universe, their little galaxy, but we're like orbiting each other and never colliding and intersecting. And I don't know, it could be for lack of intentionality. It's just, I'm so busy doing my thing. I didn't have time to stop to think, no ill intent, not malicious. I just didn't stop
Mm-hmm.
how to pull
Mm-hmm.
somebody else in. Some of it is, well, who's gonna get credit, whose name's gonna go first before the other. I mean, just being honest, like it's so
It's
many
true.
things that factor into this ecosystem not working efficiently, because when ecosystems work efficiently, the desired outcome thrives,
Yep.
right? So even when we see it in science and things are manipulated properly, you have the right light, you have the right amount of hydration, right? You have the right
Mm-hmm.
vegetation over here, you have the right animals that are going to come and fertilize X, Y, and Z, or forage for the roots and dig up the things that are going to kill, the flowers or the produce or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
When everything is working according to plan, but placed in the same environment,
There you
then
go.
you see a thriving, something that's thriving. You see
And
things,
it's sustainable.
and it's sustainable because it'll recycle and it feeds itself. And then you don't have to worry about how to come in and always fill in the gaps, because
Right.
everybody knew their part in the ecosystem and
Right.
did it to the best of their ability there.
And I think another thing too that like I want to bring to the table is that subject matter expert, because a big part of my job is working in between all those entities I just named,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So a lot of times it's like this person has a program and I'm like, that is the way you structured that program is not going to work the way school is structured. I'm not saying the way school is structured makes sense. I'm
Right.
just saying we have to figure out how to repackage, restructure. And then on the other end, I have to talk to schools to help them understand when you're working with people,
Yeah.
what does this mean? Schools and districts, I told someone this the other day, they were like, everybody I go to, they say they don't have money. They have money. These schools have money. They just got 5 secretaries for the secretary. They have money.
Yeah.
But no one, you can get the highest degree in education and not know how to manage multi-million
Oh,
thousands of dollars of a
yeah.
budget, right?
Yeah.
That is not what you learn in ed leadership school. And what they think they're teaching is like finance. It's not the way that it needs to be. So no one is having conversations about return on investment and what's the best way to
That
do
is
things.
so
What are things
good.
you need to outsource? But remember, I worked in corporate and in nonprofit. So I've seen things that sometimes in education, they just don't have an idea that there's a different or a better way to do things. But that subject matter expertise really matters. I'll tell you this, the other day I was applying, someone told me about a grant. This was maybe a few months ago. And this particular organization was giving away, I want to say $10,000 to $15,000 to schools that wanted to have a computer science initiative.
Mm.
Okay. So I'm going through the application and I'm like, Lord bless us all. They asked every kind of question except for the right ones.
Mm.
Tossing money out. Like this happens all the time. So they're asking, who's the contact person at the school? How will you celebrate if you get it? Right? What's your school's, social media? How many kids do you think will be impacted? That's all cute and whatnot. You haven't asked me about the school's master schedule. You
Mm.
haven't asked if we have a person that could potentially teach this class. And if we do, what's their training? You haven't asked these key critical, things, or like whether or not that's even a goal for us in our state or as our school. Because if you don't ask those things, if a class is not on a master schedule, that class ain't happening.
Well,
They're
then,
gonna get $10,000, maybe buy some tablets or a Chromebook because it's computer science. Like all kind of crazy things happen,
yeah,
expenditures. So, having that subject matter expertise to be able to massage some of these things in a way where we have clear, measurable outcomes.
Mhm.
Because oftentimes, especially in schools, but you see it in a number of places, people are measuring actions, not outcomes.
Yeah,
So they're looking at, did we do, did we do, did we do?
yeah,
Not as a result of us doing, did this happen? And
right.
the truth is, a lot of our work is marathon. Like, this is long faith, because I don't know if what I'm doing at South Atlanta works until I see if a kid gets through, like college.
And find a job that can sustain them,
Right. Like,
a
it's
career.
not,
Yeah.
we had a meeting, we had a break, we did, we did that.
Yeah.
But if we check in 4 years from now, where are we,
Right.
and to what degree can that student say we had a hand
Yeah.
in impacting them one way?
Yeah. Everybody loves a good logic model, right? And so everything described are all of the outputs. Like, I can tell you all day long the things we're going to do, where we're going to expend and put our energy. But to your point, is that the most effective in getting us to the outcome that we want? And what is the outcome? You said a lot, and I love it because I'm just down here taking notes. One, I think that schools should invest in business managers who have MBAs, possibly, to work
Or a
alongside
Six Sigma.
Our principals and our school leaders. So we're going to throw that out there. But one of the things that you touched on that I also see in the nonprofit world is huge foundations, be it corporate or family, right? Always have these grandiose ideas of the kind of impact they want to make in community. And my thing is, like, unless you are going to cut an organization a minimum of $250,000 to $500,000, now hear me when I said minimum, over the course of a 5 to 10 year commitment, you're not going to be able to make a vested mark in what it is that you want to see, and you're not going to get the outcomes that are delivered. I loathe having to write grants for $5,000 and $10,000, and you want me to perform miracles only Jesus can do. Now, I'm grateful for any amount of funding that can come into the organization, but you've given me a 5-page application for $10,000. You want me to serve 300 kids, right? And I'm trying to figure out where you want me to just print some pamphlets and send them out. You want me just to grab some hot dogs and invite everybody over and give them one quick workshop? Because there's no way that there can be measurable success with 300 kids as your desired outcome, right? 5-page application for $10,000. Like, that's not even the monthly salary of your CEO, right? So my thing is, what is it that we're really trying to do here? Are we just making these things available to say, oh, well, we did something, we tried, it's up to them? Well, it's not really up to them, because you haven't really given them the tools and the resources that is going to make a difference in their lives. And that is always my push-pull with the funding community. And even as it shows up in some of our school systems, my mom taught school for 38 years, and folks always asked her, why didn't you become an assistant principal? Why didn't you become a principal? The furthest my mother went up in leadership is she became the Title I coordinator and reading specialist, not just for her school, but then eventually Virginia Beach's model of cluster schools like we have here in APS, but this is back in the early, to mid 2000s. And even there, she was uncomfortable, not because she didn't have the bandwidth. And my mom has a master's level in educational leadership and was a master teacher certified by the state and all of that. She realized the further she got away from the classroom, the less impact she would be able to
There you
make.
go.
And so what she saw
There it
was
is.
folks wanted the title of principal, yet there was very little impact being made for the students in the classrooms that we say education is there for. So for me, even the way educational leadership is structured has more to do with people's personal, professional, career growth plans than it does making sure our children have what they need in order to be successful.
There it is right there. I mean, you see, I'm not, and let me say this. I know you and I know some wonderful people who are assistant principals, or whatever, but that is something that I recognize in this role, right? Because I kind of call what I am like middle management. I'm at the table of leadership, but I'm not an administrator. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yep.
I'm not in love with titles and this, that, and the third. I'm in love with impact.
Mhm.
And something I began to see is it's almost like that movie, The Firm. Like
Mm.
the higher up you go, the more you are starting to become the system. And the more a big part of what you're juggling is keeping your seat. And it's hard because if you get put out, you can't make change. But in order for you to stay, you have to keep
Say
this
it again.
faulty water wheel spinning. And so much, it's like you fight to get a seat at the table. But then when you get to the table, now your goal is just keeping your seat, not advocating for the
Yeah.
people that you should be advocating for. And I just know that ain't for me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I look at it like, in the civil rights movement, it's like Martin is the talking guy, so he's gonna talk. Andrew Young's the lawyer, so he's gonna do this. Hosea is the mess with me if you want to. Everybody needs a different person in the
Yep.
crew. I am not that person that I'd be employed for 24 hours because I would have said something, got kicked out the job, and I need to feed myself, and my dog needs to still eat organic food. So I just know that that's not going to be my route. And you're absolutely correct. I have no desire personally to work at a district office, but I have tons of ideas about how it could be um, more impactful, because
That's
there are
because,
things that can be done for this to be more impactful.
yeah, we say it all the time, and I have learned this adage more and more every day that I work with the young folks that I work with. Those
Mm-hmm.
who are closest to the problem are going to have the most innovative solution.
Mm-hmm.
Challenges, we don't pay attention to those who are closest to the problem because they don't speak the language, or they're not as
Right.
polished, or they would never get an entry into the closed door meeting or a seat at the table. And even
Mm-hmm.
when we patronize them in a sense, right, to say, well, give us your thoughts. Someone has already made a decision about what the
Yes.
solution is going to be before you even
Yep.
thought that it's good PR to ask the person who is impacted by the challenge, and then will be even more impacted by whatever your said solution is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really hard to then know what to do when you've never experienced something before. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is why, for me, when people are making educational policy decisions, if you look at their resumes, and I'm not talking about administrators, there's a path there. You have to
Yeah.
teach in the classroom for so many years. I don't think that's
Mm-hmm.
long enough, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 to 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, I personally think
Mm-hmm.
you need to be in the classroom a little bit longer. But people who make policy decisions have never stepped foot in a classroom. Never stepped foot in a classroom before. They don't know the challenge of teaching in a Title I school.
Mm-hmm.
And for the sake of just being politically incorrect, in schools in poor communities with a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of Black kids coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and they got drama at the door because they got drama at home, they got drama in the classroom, you got rival gang members, you hoping and praying something don't pop off in the middle of the hallway as the bell.
Mm-hmm.
And all the
Mm-hmm.
teachers are on edge, anxious, right? Because you heard the rumblings of what was happening on the block the weekend before. And here you are making policy decisions about
In
what
your
you should
office.
learn and how, and you've never taught a day in your life.
And didn't think that it was necessary to really seek true input,
Mm-mm.
like really seek true input of people who have to carry out, what you're doing. And I think you brought up something too with that grant when
Mhm.
you're talking about grants, because I think for some people, I think every member of the ecosystem needs to do a better job holding other members accountable. Because
Yes.
I'm sure for some granting organizations, maybe it is a box to be checked. We
Mhm.
need to get this write off and we just need to give away this money. Well, no, that's not contributing to
I
STEM and STEAM. If you're going to give money, it is your responsibility to give it responsibly and ensure that it's being used responsibly.
Yeah.
It's way too much money being wasted. But to your point, I think people have a skewed vision of like how change happens with kids, because there are times where it's like people want to do these grandiose things.
Mhm.
We want to impact 500 people. And it's like, if you want to impact 500 people, you're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to impact 500 people, an exposure event isn't going to impact 500 kids. Now, they'll come and they're going to have a great time and they are going to eat your food. And by the time they get back on that bus, they forgot about everything and we're gone.
Yep.
If you want to impact 500 kids, you really need to be getting into their classrooms. You need to be doing something with teachers. That's where you get volume. And so, but if you want to do something separate from the classroom, smaller is better. So from this event with 500 people, maybe 2 kids probably held on to that for years to come. But if you did something with 20, 15 of them may get further. And so even though it seems small on the surface, if at the end more students can get to the outcome that we're driving for, that's what you want to replicate. So I just think people have a skewed vision of like what types of activities yield
The result.
certain
Yeah.
outcome, right?
Yeah.
That you want. Because to your point, you give me $5,000, you want me to impact 300. Yeah, that does sound like hot dogs. Or it sounds like pizza slices that you had to cut
But
even more. Like, to
yeah, we're gonna
divide.
take it all the way back when they used to roll the TV in on the cart for us to watch
Right.
movies on Fridays, and they got one pizza for 25 kids, and
There it is.
that's what
And
it
you have
sounds like.
your little breadstick of a pizza.
That's it. And be satisfied. Don't ask for no more because there's nothing else coming. That's what it's giving.
Exactly.
That's what it's giving. No,
Exactly.
it's ridiculous, really. But I say something often, and
Mhm.
folks love it when I say it. And this is to go back a little bit to what you said earlier, but I think it ties into this as well. And so I give you credit every time. I want to tell you
Okay.
what it is.
Uh-oh.
And so when I'm in these spaces, I tell people all the time, like, I need for corporations to pay their tithes. Right. And so when you talked about industry has to be invested, and we're talking about if you really want to make a sizable and substantive and sustainable impact, it goes back to what is the level of investment that you're making, the spirit in which you're making that
That's
investment.
right.
But at the bare minimum, you understand that this is something that happens more than once, right? So when we think, both of us are believers, when we think about
Right.
tithing, it's not a, oh God, I gave you your 10% one time, let me go about my business and let me get all the benefits of it. No, that is something that happens when it's hard, when it's challenging, when you think that you don't have it, when you don't
Gotta
want.
show up.
But it's like I've been tithing and I haven't seen whatever prayer I've been attaching to it, right? It's the principle of the discipline and also the ability to take your faith and put it into action. It's never about the money. It's about your action and the trust you have and the discipline that you are developing. So when you said that, I was like, that wasn't just a sound bite for me. When I think about what it really means for me, right? No, that is what corporations are supposed to do. Put your faith in those who are on the ground, boots on the ground, doing the work, right? Make a concerted effort to ensure that this is not a one-time, right, investment, and that you understand there's some discipline that you have to develop as a corporate citizen to ensure that even if some of these kids don't pass the test, don't graduate, in and out of jail still, your investment is not in vain because they didn't get there overnight, which means your one donation is not going to change the trajectory of their lives overnight because you took some pictures and you brought your whole staff out for, an employee volunteerism.
You know it.
And
Put it
now
on and put it on the website.
And now life is supposed to be different. And then here you come saying, oh, well, we're going to scale back because we didn't see the impact. Well, they've been living in poverty for generations. What did you think your $10,000 was going to do?
And
For
not only that, I have to tell schools, when people give you money, it is not a love offering. This is not a passive love offering. When people give you this $10,000 to assist with X, you need to have structures and systems in place with X. And so, to your point, on both ends of accountability, organizations, y'all need to come and you need to commit and you need to pay your tithes. And it is okay. There's this idea that because I give money to a school, like I can't ask questions. No, you can ask questions. They are educating your children. It is okay to put parameters in place for your money.
yes,
You know, to ensure it is okay. You can ask those questions. Hey, we're going to give you $50,000 to be used for X. But before we do, I'll give you a great example. We're going to give you $50,000 to buy equipment, pricey equipment. It is 100% okay for you to require first for that school to show you where they're going to keep this so it can be secure.
Yeah.
And if they don't have it, say, before we give it to you, let's help you vault a room.
Yeah.
Let's help you get what you need so that when we give you the thing, you can keep it.
Yeah.
You don't just, you wouldn't give a 5-year-old a car. You need to make sure that people know what to do when they receive it. And when you start doing more of that, it's like you start to train entities what they need to have together before they just receive things. Like, oh, okay. Oh, you're saying I need to make sure I have a technology plan? Do we have a technology plan? Let's put together a technology. That has to happen. But what's happening instead is people make, I tell people all the time, education is a noble field. It's a noble thing. That does not mean every educator is noble.
That's good. That is good.
So we're losing teachers.
Yeah.
I promise you, everybody we losing ain't people that we need to keep.
I'm glad you said it because
I'm going to just be real with you. There are some people that are good teachers and we have lost good teachers because of the stress.
Yeah.
And there's some people that when I heard they was leaving, I said, do you need boxes? You need a box? Hey, because let's stop with all of this like pious. No, teachers are people too. Educators are people too. So you can't just give things away and just assume that it's for the kids. No, it's not going for the kids. It's going for the secretary.
Ooh.
It's going, or it's just going, even if it's not something like that, it's going for other things that are not wise to spend money. I'll give you an example. People will train teachers to do everything in the book instead of just outsource to get it done. So we'll train teachers, like we're going to have a PD on how to write grants. You can, if you want something for your classroom, you can write a grant for here, you can write a grant for over there.
But it's just hiring
or you could go hire someone to write a grant so that teacher can focus on teaching. I'm not saying it's wrong to write grants. A lot of teachers write grants. But you look at somebody like Miss Bejane Kareem, I believe, and she does grant writing. Hire her. Like, there's so many things. You want the teacher to learn how to use all these tools so that when they advertise, it can be nice and it can be, or you could just hire someone part-time to do your digital marketing. Like, there's certain things sometimes that schools and districts do where it's like, stop trying to force 500 things out of one person and then get mad when the most important thing they're supposed to be doing is lacking. So instead of trying to, like, hey, teacher, we'll pay you an extra $150 so you can do this big thing. No, y'all, no. Instead of getting this poor professional development that you overspent on, Go hire a grant writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go hire you can hire a grant writer part-time. You can have them come in and get your grants knocked out and be done with it. You can hire, there are just different, more efficient
Yeah.
ways to use funds that, but a lot of times no one, the people who are thought partnering they're not thinking on that vein either. They're just trying to fill out documents because apparently the document means that we did it. So it's a lot of, we have a document and we have a PowerPoint, we have all these pretty things that don't mean anything. Instead of just thinking more strategically.
Yeah. No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I hope somebody is listening. Because I feel like she just gave you like 5
I
different.
gave y'all some keys to the kingdom, y'all.
No, it's
Keys
kind of
to
like
the
I
kingdom.
don't know if you follow Pinky Cole on
I
Instagram.
do. When she was doing all of the,
I was like, because I'm like, if you been trying to figure out where's my windfall, this woman has given us almost 20 to 30 different
Mama said you
side
could do this,
hustles,
you
business.
could do this, you could sell ice, you could do, like, she really gave everybody everything. So,
I mean,
but
down
you
to the
can't say
names.
that you didn't have an idea. You can say you didn't feel like doing it, but you can't say you didn't have an idea because Pinky
That's for
gave an
sure.
idea for everybody.
That's for sure. So, I mean, I feel like you just dropped some gems. So, for folks who are trying to figure out, well, how do I get into the school system or how do I work alongside? If you are a grant writer, go approach some administrator at a school to say, hey, let's try it on a trial basis, right? This is
Who do I talk to? How do I structure things so people will try things out? Call me.
Yep. See, perfect segue as we wrapping up, right? How can people get in touch with you and learn more about the services you provide? And yeah, how can we support?
Absolutely. So I definitely am very active on LinkedIn. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, my consultation kit is there. And you can just reach out to me. My discovery link is there. So you can just schedule a discovery call with me. And I'm on Instagram at Andrea P Mills. All the kids call me Mills. That's my handle on Instagram, now Threads.
Right.
Right, Threads, Twitter, but I definitely am the most active on LinkedIn. Most people do their reaching out on LinkedIn, or you can just shoot me an email, Andrea at andreapmiller.com, and I can shoot you over a Calendly link, and let's have a discovery call to figure out what it is, what your pain points are, and what you're trying to drive at. And that could be someone that's working at a school, like I said, someone who has a STEM program, someone who's dispersing funds, and you need to be better at it. If you're part of that ecosystem in any way, shape, or form, I definitely would love to have a conversation with you. And I have an upcoming event. This is geared specifically to STEM program providers. So if you are a program provider or if you know of one, but for the month of August, because this is a critical time. If you provide a STEM program, this time of the year is critical because you're getting back into school. Like, your programs are starting back up. So for the first 4 weeks in August, so pretty much once a week, I have 4 dates. 2 dates are Tuesdays, 2 dates are Thursdays. So you can pick whichever one works with your schedule. And we're doing a workshop. So guys, this is not a webinar. You are going to be working and you are going to leave this workshop with what you need to do your strategic planning for the year. So essentially, I'm going to be going over how your vision and mission could be helping or holding you back. We're going to do a SWOT analysis. And for each part of that SWOT analysis, I'm going to be giving you some nuggets. So I'm going to be talking about a strength you're probably not leveraging. I'm going to be talking about a weakness people often overlook, opportunities people often pass up, and threats that you need to be aware of. So you are literally going to walk away with what you need to start your strategic planning.
That is amazing. I hope
Yeah, if you have anything with me, you're going to walk away with value, because one of my pet peeves is webinars or workshops where I don't get a little
yeah.
something.
Yeah. Like, I spent all this time, I still don't know what to do.
I still don't know what to do. No, you're gonna have a 1, 2, 3, like, okay, boom. I know what it is I have to think about now.
I love it. Y'all, all of her information is going to be down in the description box and the caption in case you didn't get a chance to catch it, so that you can reach out to her. And literally, I hope that some of us, all of us, me included, take advantage of the workshops and the opportunities that she is making available for the month of August. I'm sure one of those dates is going to fit in our schedules. So be sure to reach out to her on LinkedIn and to register for that so that you get the information. But I enjoyed our conversation.
I did
I
too.
hope
I
that you
always
come
enjoy our
back. I
conversations.
know. Yes.
And next time we have to really be on the porch with
Yes.
lemonade.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are working all the details out. So I'm gonna hold us to that for sure. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time.
Yay!